Welcome along to the EXFL Tier 2 Season 8 Hungarian Grand Prix. I am F1 Union, your main commentator for tonight. It is round 11 out of 22. After today, we've officially done half of the season. Got 13 at the moment, expecting one more, I believe.
Hungary itself is a landlocked country with no coastal borders. This is a quirk shared with only one other country on the F1 calendar, Austria. You might say the Hungarian is something of a champion circuit. Of the 35 Formula 1 Grand Prix held here, only 4... We've been coming here to the Hungarian 1986, making it one of the longest running events on the current calendar, appearing continuously without a break. Some might consider it an F1
Right then,
staple.
Frosty Life still on the pits. Roos out on the track on the intermediates. 3 races so far, 2 have been pretty good. Fighting at the front, 1 unfortunately towards the back due to connection issues in Austria. Cadwell back in the Aston Martin. On his debut, he made contact with his teammate in qualifying. Hopefully that isn't the case this time round. I believe this is his second or third race. His first was in Imola. So he'll come around the final corner to begin his lap. Kua, third in the standings at the moment. Top 5 in every Grand Prix he has started in the last 5 or so far. A remarkable first few races for the Alpine driver, who's looking to maybe get into second after today. Cow might be the last race we see from him for a while. We'll see what happens after the 35 laps to come. Nick's now in. He should get into his Haas seat. Josh Hewitt, second in the World Championship, trailing 50 points. A massive gap to close down with just 12 rounds remaining. Drifting, let's hope to see if he can get some points today. I'm sure he'd be happy. Bluey Doggo, same with him. Callum, he's been quite a one-lap wonder this season. Delivered some really good laps. Remember, it was him versus Roos last time out in Britain. Seb, he's been on the ball recently, getting some good podiums, good result finishes to help AlphaTauri versus McLaren. Sin Icon, most poles of anyone this season, 4, but he's not converted any of them into victory. Could this be the day where he gets his first win of the season? He's won at least once in the last 3, and he could extend that and be the record holder as Nick is into his car. He's got a qualifying ban to serve, so he will start this Grand Prix from last. And the championship leader, Lugovic 09, like I said, a 50-point lead. It was going to be 40, then Josh got a penalty, lost him 10 points, and it went from 40 to 50 points. Logan's been slowly building his gap. He's won the last 2 races, Austria and Britain. And yeah, he's been consistent since Baku, 3 wins. The most of any season he's entered, and he's certainly the main competitor for the World Championship as we approach the halfway stage. And let's see if anyone can hunt him down. He's pretty much mastered the 3 skills of the fact you don't get penalties, you stay out of trouble, and you've got good, decent pace. And if you have those 3 nailed in Tier 2, you are in to do well. As Callum sets a 16-0, we're going to get into the 15s, it seems. For pole, Sinicon only a 10th off, drifting only 3/10 off, as Kua by 6/7 thousandths is the first man into the 1 minute 15s, and it looks close, which is great to see. That's a good lap from drifting for banker wise, only a couple tenths off the top guys. Hewitt on the mediums, 8/10 down, but I'm sure he can find the time. Cal 1.2 down, I'm sure he can also find much more. Bostis on the pits, Roos on mediums now, Nick in the pits, Bluey heading in, looks like he messed up. Luigi in the pits, Seb on the inters, Logan still in the pit lane. And yes, it looks like Eggy will be joining to make that 15 drivers. He 10 rounds in, this is the 11th. Eggy is the only driver to score points in every single race so far this season. And he said he had no time to practice, doesn't know if he'll race. I just encouraged him, tell him, like, mate, score points in every race, so come on, have a go. You never know. And so he said, all right. So he'll join, hopefully get in his car. Still waiting for Nick to... There we go. He's about to serve his quali ban. He's going to stop. He's going to get disqualified or start last. Any second now. There we go. And Roos has just started their lap. Cadwell, the slowest of the 7 times so far, frosting out on his outlap. A lot of people going onto the medium compound tyre, as well as the inters from Seb, who's now in the pit lane. So the top 6 in the pits. Roos finishing the first sector as Eggy's in, 27.3. Turn 4, the main candidate for warnings, as well as the upcoming chicane that the Williams is entering now. Through the tight and twisty turns comes the middle sector. Gain so much or lose so much time. Here's probably the second candidate for warnings. If you go too wide here and invalidate your lap or get a penalty in the race, 54.1. No, Roos is pretty good around 1 lap. In terms of race pace, they struggle a little bit more. But we'll see what they can do. I think Hewitt did set his lap on mediums, so if Roos can go above that, that would be great. Crosses the line now. It's going to be a 1 minute 15.952, and it's the exact same lap time as Cure, even though it says even though that was technically a 1,000th off. But that is on medium compound tyres, which is crazy. Now, the last 2 races, pole in Austria was pretty much a one-shot because it was dry the first 5 minutes and then it rained. The gap between Sin Icon and Josh Hewitt was 8 thousandths. And the gap last week, Roos was 7 thousandths ahead of Callum, who went 2 thousandths ahead of Roos at the end, who messed up on their last run. So 8 thousandths in Austria, 2 thousandths in Britain, and at the moment, it is virtually nothing. If anything, 1,000th. So it's very close, but Roos is on the mediums compared to Q as soft, so that is quite surprising. But it seems if Roos can get the lap in this time round, then they'll get their first pole. Right, just telling Eggy how to get in his car. Right then, right on board with Callum, the Haas driver, plunging down into turn 1, heavy braking, making sure not to take too much curve on the inside. Want to rotate the car and go a bit wide. The DRS is open for the final time this lap. Into turn 2, nice and tidy, no loss of the rear. Through turn 3, should be flat. And up to turn 4, car in the way, hopefully they'll get out of his vision. Quick left, taking it nice and cautiously. The Red Bull goes off the track to not get in his way. Nice and tidy through 5. Now heavy braking into the chicane, left, right then left, using a bit of curb as we plunge it into another chicane. Little loss of the rear there, you had to hear him lift off the throttle a bit. Now going flat out, gear shift down, lifting off the throttle a little bit, riding the curb, make sure not to invalidate. A bit more traffic in front of him. He's nearly 3/10 up, however, in Callum, and he's looking for provisional pole. Through the final sector then, as Sin Icon 4th, ahead of Luigi, who goes 5th. And then round the final 2 corners, a little bit of a snap there for the Haas. With 1 final corner to go, you just want to keep to the inside and then hug the curb on the outside. DRS open and across the line. You want the lap to be over as soon as possible, and it is by nearly 2/10. Pole position at the moment for Callum. Solid lap for the Haas driver. And we'll see what others can do in challenge. Cure, he's just over a 10th up. Let's see what he can do then. He needs to find about another 10th if he wants to snatch back provisional pole from Callum. Cure in the Alpine then round the final corner. DRS on and across the line. Is this provisional pole for Cure? Yes, it is. By 12 thousandths. It is seriously close for pole on the front row, like we've seen for the past couple weeks. And this week in Hungary, it is no exception at the moment. as Kiwa by 12 thousandths takes back provisional pole, and we'll see what Roos can do, who's yet to do a lap on the soft compound tyres, as Josh Hewitt on the softs goes P5, but nearly half a second down. Let's see, has last week's stream been saved now? Yep, so I can get rid of that. And yeah, Eggy's in his car, cool. Oh no. Rain in the race. Well, that's going to be interesting. Wet race. Right then, Frosty just into the top 10. Cadwell P11, Bluey 4.5 off. Eggy on his outlap now. Logan round the final corner. Championship leader crosses the line now. It's a 15.761 and it's 21 thousandths covering the top 3. And we just caught the end of that, but it is so close between these 3 at the moment. And don't discount Roos, who's yet to do a soft run. But with it being such a short track, how much time can you really find with one compound compared to the other? But at the moment, yeah, one little flick of the rear, little loss of traction, and you have just lost 2 places from pole down to the 2nd row. Sen Icon, what can he do? I think he's only done the 1 lap at the moment, so he's saving a set. But if it's going to be a wet race, might not be any points. He's heading out the pit lane now with 6 minutes and 10 seconds to go. He might get 2 runs in still. Drifting. What about him then? Don't know if he improved. I don't think he's done another lap after he was like 3/10 off. They've just been improving out in front. So Drifting on his 2nd run then, with just under 6 minutes remaining. 8/10 down. He's messed up somewhere. What about Cadwell heading through the middle sector now, as Eggy is just about to finish his lap. 55.4 for the middle. What about Cadwell? He's backed off. So we'll see Eggy then round the final corner. DRS open to cross the line for the Alfa Romeo. He goes P13, unfortunately. Barely any practice for him. And at the moment, he can't best anyone besides Bluey. Drifting just parked there for some reason. Bruce right behind him. Hopefully Drifting doesn't have any, what was it, wheel issues that caused him to retire last week. Who the hell? Right, Luigi, with 4 minutes remaining, is starting a lap now. Someone joined, but hopefully they don't take control of a car. Okay, looks like I'll go from dry to wet. Right then, Luigi continuing with his lap. We'll see him at the end of the middle sector. Has he found any more time? Just under a 10th. And that will get him close to P7, but he's going to need to find a little bit more with 3 minutes remaining to get himself past Josh Hewitt. As Luigi did improve by a bit. Ah, there we go, he's left. Oh my god, I didn't even realise. Roos on the softs has made it the top 4, the top 5! Wow! The top 5 covered by 84 thousandths. Roos did do their lap. What? Okay. Roos did do their lap on the softs. Found about a tenth and a half. I did wonder, they weren't going to find massive amounts of time on the grass for some reason, just letting people go out the way, and that might be it for Roos. I don't know if they can be fueled enough again, but the top 5, a Sin Icon, that's it for him. He will start P5 at best. 84 thousandths covers him to the top driver, which is Q at the moment. He's just starting his lap. Logan round the final corner will emerge, and then Callum will be the last of the top 3. Can anyone else challenge this drifting? Is heading through the first sector now. Josh Hewitt exiting the first corner. What about Cow heading through the middle sector now? He's found a bit of time, but he's going to need to find 6/10 now. I think he's backed off maybe. Eggy down in P13, about to start his lap then. Bluey about to do the same, I believe. Still got yellows in the middle sector, so Callum still needs to get a move on. What about Kua then? He's down by just a bit in the first sector. What about Logan then? Through the end of the first sector, can he find any time? It's going to be fractions you need to find. He's up by a whole tenth and a bit as Logan pursues provisional pole at the moment. What about Roos to start his lap right in front of an Aston Martin of Frosty Life? Don't know if, oh, okay, Roos is pulled out to get out of the way, and that will not be pole position for Roos then. They'll start P4 at best. Frosty starts his lap with a bit of a distraction at the start. On board with Kua, who's backed off. Seems like Kua lost some time there with the AlphaTauri in front of him. Either Seb or it was Josh. And seems like Kua was either getting out of the way or got held up, so this will not be pole for Kua. Callum heading through the first sector. Logan's found even more time, and he could be on for another pole position of his. Kua doesn't improve. Logan round the final corner. What about Callum? He's down by nearly a tenth in the first sector, drifting P6 at best. Here comes Logovic to cross the line, and it's pole position by just over a tenth and a bit for the championship leader with a 15.616. What about Callum? Can he find any time in the middle? Josh Hewitt goes 7th at best. Luigi round turn 2 at the moment. Seb, he's down by a bit. He's invalidated. That'll be P9 at best. Eggy manages a top 10 finish. Frosty still finding time. Cadwell right behind him. What about Callum then? He's found a little bit of time, and if he can find 13 thousandths, he'll get himself at least on the front row ahead of Kua. But he needs a mighty final sector. He needs to find a 10th. He messed up at the penultimate corner, remember, on his latest run. But now this is the moment where it counts for the Haas. And can Callum do something magical? No, he just misses out by just under half a tenth. But he's on the front row at least. And Callum, by 46 thousandths, misses out. It's Logan, who's on pole position. Roos P4, Sin drifting on the third row. Josh, then Luigi, who's, yeah, definitely going to get P8. Seb P9, Eggy P10, Frosty 11th, Cow P12th, Cadwell 13th, Bluey 14th, and Smolnik serving his qualifying ban. 2 weeks ago, the gap was 8 thousandths. Last week, the gap was 2 thousandths. This week, a little bit bigger, 46 thousandths. But nonetheless, it's such a close fight for pole that if you add the last 3 combined, it's 56. It's just over half a tenth. And we're just waiting for Roos, I think, who unfortunately gets P4. Looked like it was going to be a promising pole, but they messed up somewhere like last week, and maybe next time round Right, hopefully. Oh my god, it's Jack Hemmings. Anyway, I hope everyone's enjoying the stream so far and is excited for the 35 laps to come ahead. And there we have it. It's raining, confirmed for the race. Thought it was going to go from dry to wet, considering it went from 2%, 4%, something. But it's already raining. And as soon as Callum can send me the 7 weather icons, just in case of any restart, we'll be fine. Yep, into level. That's no surprise. Ah, okay. So it's going to go from wet to dry. And here we go then. The first 4 icons are into. The 5th is cloudy and the last 2 are cloudy and sunny. Here we go then, the final race of the first half of the EXFL Tier 2 Season 8 season. It's been a cracking first half. Let's end it with a good race. It's the Hungarian Grand Prix, 35 ahead of us in inter conditions. The 5 lights are out and the revs rise with Logan on the left and Callum on the right. And it's lights out and away we go with a decent start from Roos in the back as Logan is trying to maintain pole position. But it's Callum who's in the lead and we may get 3 wide down into turn 1. Cure right behind the Haas. Roos down the inside. Logan gets squeezed out a bit and into turn 1. Then it's Callum who leads side-by-side action and going wide and off there. Is the Aston Martin as Roos versus Logan who's had an awful start who drops down to P4. It's Callum, then Cure, then Roos, then Logan as Sin Icon is trying round the outside, can't quite prevail. Josh in P6, Luigi and Cal who's had a flying start is up to P7, look at him go round the outside of the Red Bull. Cadwell up to 9th, drifting down to 10th, Seb down to 11th, Eggy down to 12th, Small Nick up to 13th, Bluey up to 14th and Frosty down in 15th as Luigi's dropping more positions, but all 15 drivers have made their way through. No collisions, no contact. It's great to see as they head through the middle sector now and a little bit wide there. And going off is Luigi. A bad lap gets even worse for the Red Bull as Nick is trying to eye a move. And in these conditions, it really separates the boys from the men. And at the moment, Callum has had the greatest start. And he's leading the charge as Logan's struggling even more now as Sin Icon is on the back of him and nearly runs into the back of him. And I think he did, but a little bit of lag there may have just saved Logan from another opening lap spin. This time round, it's no sort of comeback. And he'll be P4 for now, but it's Callum out in the lead with a great start. Position gain, biggest gainer at the moment, it's Cadwell and Cal. As biggest loser at the moment is Luigi, who's lost 4 places, and Cadwell's losing ground there to drifting. And down the inside goes the Aston Martin. This is the fight for P8. Drifting will try around the outside, but he'll let Cal go. Will Drifting try the switch? Of course he will. Cadwell gets all out of shape. That might allow Seb to the inside, but he blocks him off, and Drifting gets ahead of the Aston Martin. Seb gonna try and go round the outside of Cadwell, and Cadwell has the position covered for now. So far, so good. And Callum with a 1.3 second lead, half a second ahead of Roos, keeping it nice and tidy. All ERS good because you can't really burn that much around this track in general, especially in the rain. And any second now you could make a slight mistake that could completely ruin your race. But Callum's got great race pace, and remember, it will be a wet to dry race. So as soon as the rain starts easing off, as soon as it starts getting sunnier, that'll be the call when DRS gets enabled. So this race is going to be fun, I think. Roos on the back of Cure. Logan started on pole, dropped to 4th. See what he can gain back, or can he lose even more? Sin Icon's now going to come under pressure from Josh Hewitt a little bit. No DRS, and there's really only one overtaking zone, and it's down into turn 1. So these drivers are going to have to be very precise with where they place their cars and very confident with when they try and send it on another in front. And speaking of which, Roos down the inside of Cure, making a move for P2. The more they battle, the more Callum gets ahead, and they're inches from contact. But at the moment, Cure's ahead minusculely until Roos has the better traction to go round the outside of Cure. They're millimetres apart from front to rear, and can Roos make the move round the outside and get in a second? Yes, the Williams can, but Cure not giving this up without a fight, may have to now, and Roos with a brilliant move is up in a P2 ahead of the Alpine. Bit of a train forming behind P2 all the way down to P7. Cal, who started, I think, P12, is up in a P7. A brilliant opening stint so far for the McLaren driver. Let's just hope he can go all the way with this sort of pace and commitment. Drifting not too far away, but Cadwell holding up a bit of a train behind two eagle-eyed candidates of Seb and Eggy, currently down in 10th and 11th, and there's contact for the first time in the race. Cadwell and Seb loses a place to Eggy because of that. Cadwell, who has had a few collisions or two in his first few races in the tier. Seems like Seb got caught up in something, and Small Nick on the back of the AlphaTauri now. And Roos has left Cure a little bit there. And they're all too separated. I don't think anyone's going to try any moves this time round, but Callum, loving life at the moment. Won in Monaco, the race got voided, got his win back in Canada. And at the moment, he's eagle-eyed for Haas, the most successful team points-wise. They're just trying to hang on ahead of McLaren, who are pretty much the most successful team in the history of EXFL Tier 2. 2 championships compared to the rest on 1. But yeah, Logan, 50 points ahead of this man, Josh Hewitt in P6. And at the moment, I don't think Logan will mind too much about the 3 in front of him. Ruse, not that many races, so they're not really in the fight at the moment. Cure, 3rd in the standings, could overtake Josh after today. He might be a bit of a problem. Callum is definitely going to try and push as hard as he can. Lap 4, and Louis down in P15, 4.3 seconds off. Frosty only gained a place since lap 1. Luigi, his lap 1 was pretty bad. He just went down more and more after every corner. But Seb is right on the back of Eggy and Cadwell, creating a bit of a gap to the top 8. Eggy, then Seb. Do any of them dare any sort of move? It seems like the top 3 are separating even more. And Cadwell just defending against a train of cars here for 2 and 1 point. It's 9th all the way down to P13. Who tries any sort of move? The top 8, no one close enough for any sort of move. Logan is a bit close to Cure, but for now, unless any sort of mistake happens, as Logan goes a bit deep there, they are fine. Cadwell goes mega defensive to the inside when Eggy's not even that close. Seb has a little look at the inside, can't quite get it. But if he can get the traction as Eggy, that might be a warning for him. Seb blasts his battery to try and get into P10. Eggy goes defensive to the inside. Can Seb go round the outside like Roos did on Cure? He's going to try it, you know, and Eggy leaves him just enough room. And Seb, a miraculous move around the outside to get himself up into the points-paying position. He gets ahead of the Alfa Romeo, good just between the two. And Seb now back up in a 10th. Seems like they're all separated a bit more. Frosty's now joined this train. Cadwell is just, the gap between him and drifting is going up by about a second or two. Like, look at his lines compared to Seb. Seb, who made contact with Cadwell right here a few laps ago, nearly happens again as something's happened. Luigi's gapped, well, just in between the lot, really. Seb is going to try around the outside, just enough space left. Now he'll try a switchback as Cadwell goes deep and goes off the track. And when he comes back on, Seb is up in a 9th now. And he's put the Aston under pressure. He goes back down the inside, but he can't quite best Seb. And Seb gets ahead as Luigi now gets ahead of Eggy before the final corner. And Seb will be blasting his battery to stay ahead in 9th now. He's got his work cut out for him, 6 seconds in front of the top 8, drifting on the back of Cal. And at the moment, does Luigi try a send on Callum? Cadwell moves under braking a little bit there. Nearly hits the back of Seb as Luigi now maximises his opportunity to get into P10. Eggy now trying to maximise on Cadwell, who's dropping positions. And Eggy now has to do what Seb did, but Cadwell breaks later. Can Eggy try the switchback? Yes, he can. Now he's wheel to wheel with Cadwell. Does he leave him enough space? Eggy round the outside. There's contact between the Aston and the Alfa Romeo. And they both drop down to 13th and 14th. The first actual kind of crash in this race. No surprise which one driver's involved, but Eggy, unfortunately, tried round the outside. Cadwell gonna have to look back at that, see who was really at fault. Something was going to happen eventually, but at the moment, the rest has been fine. Roos keeping the gap constant to Callum. Kua, who's losing more and more time to the Williams. Logan, who's just kept with. Sin Icon, same distance. Josh Hewitt's dropped off a bit. Yeah, they're all pretty spaced out now as we're on to lap 7 nearly. A fifth of the way done. But remember, it'll be a wet to dry race. If there's any safety cars, obviously the more quicker we'll get to the dry period. But it'll be about half and half at the moment. I'd say, I want to guess around lap 18, we'll start to notice a bit of difference between a wet track to a dry. At the moment, Luigi, probably the closest battle to Seb for P9 and P10 Small Nick. And Frosty, they don't at least have to put up with getting past Cadwell. Eggy is, if he gains up to the back of the Aston. Louis 11 seconds off. We still have all 15 runners in the Grand Prix. And yeah, it's just a track that's in the dry already very difficult to make a move on. In the wet, it's going to be extremely rare. But the wet does have a difference to the dry. You can lose much more time compared to the wet. In the wet, much more time compared to the dry. And if you make a mistake, that's more costly because it allows the drive behind to gain more momentum and traction. Sven says you need to know when to back out. You're holding up 4 cars, Cadwell. And AI, I'm guessing, do that. He lost about nearly a second, does Eggy, but now he's going to have to try and carry on. He said he did no practice. Well, I'm sure about 90, probably every single person in this lobby did no wet practice. So Eggy's in the same basket as them now, and he's going to have to just get on with it. The only driver so far this season to score points in every single round. He led the championship for a couple due to his consistent start with podiums. But it has been a bit of a fall from grace for the Alfa Romeo, and he's currently sitting 4th, 5th in the standings. So he's still in the fight with a few of these guys, but at the moment, if it stays like this and he gets P14, that run will come to an end, and so will his chances of advancing any further for now. Bruce gained a 10th or so on Callum, so they're pretty even at the moment. Kua's just losing even more time. The top two just keeping in front. Logan nearly outside of a second. Now he is. Sin now outside of a second. Hewitt's caught Sin a bit. Callum just dropping off a bit more, but they've all got a bit pretty consistent pace to at least keep within sight of one another. If we go to fastest lap, yeah, Callum, look at that, 8/10 ahead of Roos. That was obviously at the start of the race when the Inters were at their best and Roos was still fighting Kua. So now that they've settled down, all their lap times are going to be pretty similar. As yeah, if you look from Roos all the way down to drifting, it's pretty consistent of nearly 3/10 covers all of their fastest laps, so they're pretty even. It's just Callum really got the throttle down at the start and delivered a great lap, but that will not be the fastest lap in this race. Of course, it will go dry in about 10-15 minutes. We'll have to wait until then, unless someone messes up. Luigi getting ever close to Seb, who's once again, Seb does love to burn his battery, and he's continuing to do so. Logan now outside of a second properly of Kua. And it will all depend on when the rain stops, if there's a safety car, do they pit onto what tyre, medium, hard, softs? Nothing may be happening at the moment, but it's tier 2. That's actually a blessing in disguise, the fact it's not chaos every damn lap. Bruce gaining a bit more time on Callum now. Just going to check the records real quick. We've had 7 different winners in the first 10 races. We had Hewitt, who won the opening round. Marine, who went up to tier 1 as Hewitt goes off there. Yeah, no penalties for anyone yet, considering this is a track where penalties are quite common. As here we go, Small Nick, because Luigi has had a problem, and round the outside, Frosty tries a move. That allows Nick into the points there. Luigi messed up somewhere. Frosty trying to move down the inside, but not close enough. So yeah, Luigi messed up there. And now he's going to be on the back of him. So yeah, we had Josh win the opening round, Marine in the Aston who won Saudi from 19th, broke the record, and then got promoted to Tier 1. We had Cal get his maiden win and only win so far at Australia. Then we had Logan win Baku, and then we had Seb pole to win in Miami, and then we had Morgan win back-to-back races in Imola and Spain. We had Callum who won Canada, and then Logan who's won the last 2 of Austria and Britain. 3 for Logan, 2 for Morgan, 1 for Josh, Cal, Seb and Callum. As DRS is now enabled on lap 10 when it's still raining. This is interesting. The game has just decided, yeah, screw it. And while that's happening, Sin Icon has closed right up to Logan, who's not going to be within DRS of Cure, but he's gaining a couple tenths there. The gap's still constant between the top 2, but if DRS is enabled now, how good a dry tyre is going to be on this surface at the moment. It's still too wet, surely. But you can see dry lines of the tyre marks. And if anyone gambles, you may get paid pretty well at the moment. Eggy has caught up to the back of Cadwell. Drifting is still on the back of Callum. Logan has got DRS on Cure, and this is DRS in the wet. Here we go then. We're going to see a few more moves then. As, yeah, Logan's caught up to Cure. He's gaining with 90% ERS. Cure with 97. And they're all going close and closer to one another. Josh Hewitt's now within DRS. And here comes Drifting, going around the outside of Callum. Now he has to switch and get the DRS, but it's very rare you see moves from this far back. Dropping down the order is Seb and Nick into the pit lane. They're going to be the first to go on to dry tyres. It's hards to go to the end for Seb. What about Nick? He's doing mediums. And we'll switch to the tyres considering no one's got penalties at the moment. So Luigi and Nick go on the mediums. Seb on the hard compound tyres with 24 laps to go. And out onto a wet/dry track. It's going to be very interesting to see how the times compare. Eggy also pitted for hards. Doesn't want to deal with Cadwell. Pretty smart move. Drifting still behind Cal at the moment. 3.2 off the 4 in front of them. This is a great shot. Cure versus Logan versus Sin versus Josh Hewitt then. 4P for the final spot on the podium for now. And 1.9 seconds is the gap between Roos to Callum. They've gained 7 tenths since in the last couple laps. Seems like Callum's starting to struggle a little bit as he's into the pit lane, followed by Roos. They all might start pitting. And up to 6, they're all individual teams. So Callum may lose out to Drifting here if the teams have to box. Sin Icon stays out. Hewitt in. Having to make sure not to speed. Josh tries it, but not quite. Yeah, Callum's going to get held up here. Drifting and Callum, both their teammates are in front of them. Callum goes onto the medium, Roos onto the hards, Logan and Cure onto the hards too, Hewitt onto the hards, so Callum, the only one who's chosen a different tyre at the moment. Drifting goes in now, followed by Callum on the mediums. Drifting puts the hard compound tyres on. There's Callum, there's Drifting. So they remain how they are, with Logan right under pressure from Josh. He's lost 2 seconds to Cure. So Roos has gained 6 tenths due to the pit stops on Callum, but on the mediums he'll have better rubber. But with DRS, Roos is right on near the back of the second gap of the Hask driver. Sin Icon now gets a penalty, and he's struggling. He's lapped his teammate. Cadwell on the mediums, and Sin Icon in a bid to stay out. The track is dry. It stopped raining. That was quick. 12 laps in, I guess lap 18. And it seems like for the next 2/3 of the race, we're going to be on a dry track, ever drying away. But Sin's losing more time, and he's going to emerge probably down in 9th at this rate. This allows a free place for Josh, Cal, Seb, who's got past Drifting now, as Seb and Nick have joined this little fight. On the mediums, they pitted early, remember, and it's benefited them. Only 1 lap extra wear. Wear is pretty decent around here. But if you can gain that much, they won't care. Leader. It's going to be close to see where Sin Icon drops out. He was with Logan, who's already gained to 1.4 behind Cure, and he's left Hewitt a bit. 1.2 between Callum and Roos. Callum's tyres are going to fare out a bit more. Sin Icon comes out the pits. He's actually not lost too much time. Seems like he's only going to lose 1 place, which is to Josh Hewitt, and he's not even too far behind him. So Callum still ahead of the 7 to 10 train. But yeah, we've got 4 cars, 7th to 10th. Sin Icon separated to Josh, separated to Logan. Cure, 10 seconds off the top 2 now, as they're about to lap Bluey, and if Callum can time this right, he may get DRS. Cadwell, 5 seconds for speeding in the pit lane. He retires and has given up. Not even at the halfway mark. Bluey gets out of the way of the top 2. And Hewitt's closing up with so much less DRS. That's a lot of curb for the AlphaTauri. And Cal, looking like he's doing a pretty good race at the moment. If there is a safety car. Oh, no, 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 no! Cal! For God's sake, not the jinx. He's messed up. He's spun. And that's dropped him all the way out the points. A mistake from Cal. I was going to say if there's a safety car, Sin Icon with his penalty could promote Cal to 6th. But even if there wasn't, he was still within 3 seconds. It's gone, unfortunately, very wrong for Cal, who's got to just make his way back through now. Oh, for God's sake. Anyway, 1.3 covers the top 2. Same ERS pretty much. Hewitt not pushing, 100% ERS. Logan's used a bit. Josh nearly at the flashing level. Sin a bit out on his own at the moment, as Seb is under pressure from Drifting, who sends it to the inside. The Williams versus the AlphaTauri. Drifting barely leaves Seb any room. He has to go off the grass, but gets back ahead. Drifting, who tried to force Seb out, gets an illegal overtake. Drifting goes off himself. And they've both lost a lot of time to the cars ahead. Small Nick now gets past Drifting due to all that. And that seemed a bit like Drifting's fault, where you try to go over, and Seb gets a 5. Yeah, he got the illegal overtake, which Drifting did not go back ahead. Seems like that will be removed, but if he has to pit again, that will be served. And Drifting, yeah, like I said, he's trying to squeeze him out, making him have to either back off or have enough acceleration to stay in front. Seb was still there, forced him off. Seb got ahead off track, got the penalty. Drifting went off himself. And yeah, that was a bit clumsy from the Williams. Seb, who's had a very exciting turn 2 this race, is now going to come under pressure from Small Nick, who started P15, and he's halved the grid at the moment. And he may get Seb, who's gone onto the grass a little bit there, and onto the curb a bit more. And now Seb is under pressure from Nick, who's going to blast his ERS. Seb, who's trying to defend. Nick goes to the inside, and on the medium compound tyre, it seems like Nick, if he brakes later, will have P7 in the Grand Prix. Seb tries a switchback, but with Nick blasting his ERS to stay ahead, they're going to plunge their way now down into turn 2, and it's Nick who is up in a P7 ahead of the AlphaTauri, and Drifting on the back will have to try again. But with so much more ERS for the Haas, he's up in a 7th, and if he can gain 2.3 seconds, he may get 6th. Joshua out of ERS going off there. Bluey just trying to get out of the way, getting lapped. Oh, Cal! He spun again. Now he drops down to P13. Eggy up in the 12th. Cal, who's made another mistake, loses him even more time. He's just going to have to hope for a safety car now. We're 15 laps in, still nothing yet. Bluey gets out the way of all the cars. Callum H fastest lap, and followed by Roos fastest lap. Just under a 10th between the two, but considering Roos is on a compound slower, there isn't much difference between the hards and mediums wear-wise. In terms of actual pace, again, it's not much, but props to Roos for keeping with and keeping the gap. Logan, as Bluey has retired in the pit lane, becomes the 2nd retiree. Again, not half race distance. As, yeah, Cal messing up, he may become a 3rd at this rate. But if he can maybe just stick it out to the end, good on him. Right, Callum, 1.3 ahead of Roos. Cure, 13.2. He's lost 3 seconds to the guys in front. Again, not using his battery, because there really is no point blasting. Logan, who's kept with Cure all race, who had a poor start, dropping from 1st down to 4th on the opening lap. Hewitt, who's used all his battery nearly, has dropped out of 2nd. Sin Icon is closing on the AlphaTauri driver. Nick not exactly left Seb and Drifting yet, who are still quite close to one another. Luigi has joined this fight, as we have a yellow of Cal again at turn 3. Hitting the wall there. Has to reverse to avoid the barrier. Callum H, fastest lap once again. He's found another half a second as he's blasting his battery, just try and make a gap. As, yeah, it's clear and evident because he was on the similar amount to Roos. So Callum pushing that race, and that's a safety car because Callum's retired. Don't know if he did that on purpose. Lost of traction. And looks like they'll all pit. And this will close up the field. This helps Cure. Seems like Cal said he got stuck trying to get back on. So, yeah, Cal is surprised he retired. May have been like one of those moments where you tap the wall and your tyre comes off. Alright, Cal's clipped it, so he didn't do it on purpose. That's good. It's not like him to do that anyway. So, yeah, that's unfortunately Cal out, who's caused the first safety car. Bluey and Cadwell gave up in the pit lane. They waited a few more laps, you never know. Safety car's there to pick up Callum, the leaders, who have still not met the pit lane yet. So, let's see what they do. Cal, that helps him, considering his mediums were going to wear out a bit. Roos into the pit lane. They should go on to mediums for the rest of the race. Cure, Logan, Josh, Sin. This brings everyone close to one another. This brings Eggy into the fight a little. Yeah, it'll be hard compound tyres for Callum. And for Roos, game on. It's now the swap. Roos was on the hards, goes to the mediums. Callum was on the medium, now goes to the hards. This is going to be a proper fight between the two at the moment. Cure pitting on to the mediums. Logan doing the same. Yeah, they're all going on to mediums. Sin on the mediums. Hewitt on the mediums too. And they are as they were. Luigi stays out on the mediums. That's interesting. So the top two were miles ahead of the rest. It seems like there is going to be a car in between them again. Small Nick. So both Hassers are the only drivers on the hard compound tyres, as everyone else has pitted onto new mediums. Eggy stays out. Oh, he was on new mediums anyway. And the only person on worn mediums so far is Luigi in third on 7-lap hold. Don't really get why he's done that. I'm just watching how Callum crashed now. Oh, he was beached, I think. Oh my god. Okay, so Callum kind of beached himself, and there was a green barrier in front of him that he needed to move left to avoid. He moved left, touched the barrier at about 2 miles an hour, and his wheel came off. So it was one of those, which is heavily unfortunate. What does Luigi do? He stays out still as we have approached the halfway stage of the Grand Prix. Hope everyone's enjoyed the race so far. It's been quite full of action. A lot of moves, a lot of clean laps. A few incidents here and there. Oh. So yeah, oh god, what's happening? Maybe they might just be messing around, I don't know. So yeah, at the moment, the only penalty so far is for Sin Icon on a 3-set. The other 12 still having a fight for position here. Don't know why Josh and Logan are going wheel to wheel, but it's stopped now. Cadwell saying he was defending his position like a lion. Yeah. I guess that's one way of looking at it. And yeah, safety car, I believe, will be in this lap. And Callum on the hard compound tyre, same as his teammate, compared to everyone else on mediums, will have to defend, like Cadwell said, like a lion. But he's got good pace. But Roos will want that victory. Yep, safety car's in. It'll be up to Callum to dictate the pace. Go at a constant speed and go when he pleases. And hopefully everyone else keeps in single file. Q is holding them up a bit. But yeah, he's going to have to clear Luigi, who might be a thorn in some driver's side. It depends how quickly they can get ahead. And hopefully there was no contact. So Cal backing them up. Nearly at full throttle. Now he's gone. He decides to go now. He's had a decent restart as Roos, 7/10 behind. And we resume racing then. Callum from Roos, from Luigi, from Q, who's already pulling out to the inside of the Red Bull. And if he can brake later with blasting his battery, he will get up in a third. Down the inside goes the Alpine. Luigi goes deep anyway, and that might allow Logan, who has contact with Josh, losing the rear a little bit there, the top two in the World Championship. Logan gets ahead of Luigi, who's still on his inside. The championship leader gets hit off as Luigi brakes later, and now Josh makes contact with the Red Bull, who's dropping down the order even more now. Sin Icon on the back of the AlphaTauri. That was all a bit clumsy, initiated by Luigi, braking late, under pressure now as he dives into the inside, goes off there as Drifting is now trying to get past, switches now on the Red Bull, who's gone from third down to ninth, may even be 10th if Seb is later on the brakes. Luigi holding them up even more, and that's so frustrating for the AlphaTauri, who just has to sit there and lose even more time. The Roos right on the back of the leader. Thought there was contact. Logan, 7/10 off Q at 1.2 off. Josh under pressure from Sin Icon. Then Nick, then Drifting. Luigi still ahead of Seb down the inside. Eggy tries to move off Frosty. A little bit under pressure for no points at the moment. And Seb on the inside of the Red Bull, still trying to fight him. And looks like he might get him into turn one if he gets a good switch. But for the lead of the race, Roos on 78, Callum on 41, blasting everything to try and stay ahead. No moves so far, as third down to 6. Had a bit of contact trying to get past Luigi. Luigi, who sent it late on the brakes into 2, made contact with Logan, who got forced off. And Luigi has dropped down to 10th. Will he try it again on Seb? He goes to the inside. He does try, and it's just so silly from the Red Bull, who sends it to the inside, plants his car as tight as possible. What on earth does he think is going to happen? And Hewitt now gets a penalty. Again at turn 4, that's catched a few people out. And yeah, Luigi, it's one of those weird ones. You see someone stay out, and 9 times out of 10 this happens. Yeah, questionable from the Red Bull. Anyway, Roos can finally see that the rear wing of the Haas surprisingly says the word Haas. As dropping down the order, Josh Hewitt, he's made a mistake, he's lost his front wing, he's caused a VSC and nearly rejoins and takes his teammate out. Josh Hewitt, runner-up in the World Championship at the moment, 50 points trailing the McLaren of Logan, has caused a VSC. Luckily he'll be able to pit and not lose too much time, but he's lost his front wing, and usually that sort of impact causes a full safety car. But Josh Hewitt has messed up there, and it's going to drop him out of the running, and he's retired. He's given up. And that will make it 11. This at least helps Callum a bit save his battery, as Roos is nearly on 100%. So that promotes everyone up a place. That promotes Eggy back up into the points. Still a VSC. Luigi just taking this moment of pit. And yeah, if the rest have to pit again and Luigi pushes a bit more, it's only a couple laps fresher, but 5 laps, you never know. And we've got to make sure, well, they all got to make sure they don't speed under the VSC when it's ending. Hopefully no drive-throughs. It's going on for quite a bit. We don't actually know when it will end. They will. They'll get a bit of a warning for 10 seconds. So Luigi currently 41 seconds off the lead, 28 and a bit off the next driver. DRS is enabled, that's the end. No no drive-throughs for anyone. And Roos is right on the back of Callum. If anything, they're even closer to the Haas, who's got pretty much nearly double the ERS amount. Kua nearly within a second, who's got, look at that, 3 in a row with just pretty much 100% battery. And Callum is going to fall under massive amounts of pressure, blasting his battery to keep ahead of the Williams, who stops blasting when they know Callum is doing the same thing. Roos looks to the inside a little bit, letting Callum know he's there. And for now, it's going to be another lap stuck behind the Haas driver. Kua just under a second in front of Logan. Sin Icon, it's got Nick and drifting on his radar. And with that penalty, it's going to drop him behind them both, maybe even behind Seb if he can get a move on. Unfortunately, got held up due to Luigi, which lost him a heap of time. He would have been right with the two. Drifting, currently 7th, and if he gets ahead of Sin due to the penalty, that'll be P6. I believe that'll be a career best for the Williams driver. It'll be a great result so far for the British team, who's going to hope for a good amount of points. And Nick from P15 up to P6 at the moment. It'll be a top 5 if he keeps within 3 seconds of Sin, which would be a brilliant result for Haas in general, both Haas and Williams. 1st and 2nd, 6th and 7th. And Seb is pushing 2.3 down to 1.7 already this lap. And Roos will try it again as they head on to lap 24 of 35. Luigi already pushing, but here comes Roos then, blasting their battery with the ERS. And got the DRS, and got the slipstream. They go to the outside as Callum defends. Now they'll try the switchback as Callum tries to place his car where he needs to. And DRS and ERS once again as Roos looks to the inside. They've timed this right, and to the inside now, the Williams takes the lead of the Grand Prix. Callum tries a switch, but is nowhere near enough to try and get back ahead. Roos is into the lead of the Hungarian Grand Prix, blasting the battery just to make sure they're ahead. And now they're into P1. Callum just has to make sure he sticks with to not fall under any more pressure from Kua. It's minuscule amount of time between Kua getting that DRS, which could so help him create a 4-car train for the lead. Let's look at fastest laps. 18.0, 18.3, 18.6, 18.9, 3 tenths between the top 4, all of them. Sin Icon 19.0, half a second back to Nick, who's really similar on pace to drifting 8,000. Seb lapping a little bit quicker. Same with Frosty Life. So those two could gain on the 2 in front. Eggy just a bit off at the moment. A bit more practice may have helped him. And Luigi 18.4. He's lapping pretty well. And if any of them have to make any stop under normal racing conditions, he could jump them. Because he didn't have to change his wing or anything. We start lap 25. All pretty separated at the moment. Drifting. Can he get past Nick, who's got more ERS than him? Drifting, blasting everything he has, gaining in the slipstream. We saw a Williams overtake the Haas on the last lap. We're going to see a Williams battle with the Haas the next lap. And Nick and Drifting come perilously close, locking tyres a little bit. But Drifting's made the move stick. He wants the top 5 finish. And at the moment, by 2,000s, now 31,000s, he's going to get it. But if they battle more, Sin Icon could hold on to P5 at the moment. He is by just over a 10th. But Drifting making the move stick. Questionable defense on Seb we saw at the early stages of the race that might get reported for Drifting. But for now, he's P6 and he's just got to push a little bit more. And if he can work with Nick, they might gain back within 3 seconds of Sin. I don't know what the warnings are like for everyone else. And really, let's leave it a bit of a mystery with 10 laps remaining. Because if any of these top 4 get any pen whatsoever, they are not winning. You know what? Screw it, let's check it now. Ooh, lap 10 and 16 for Roos. Exceeding. Okay, so Roos, the race leader, is on 2 warnings. Alright, Callum's only on 1, so he's got that advantage. What about Kua, who's dropped off a bit as Mornick versus Drifting to the inside. Drifting's going to hang it around the outside. A little bit of contact, but he falls victim And Callum and Nick battling even more now, which has lost them even more time as Drifting is going to come back at Nick. Round the outside goes to Williams, but Nick switches and now he tries to switch back. They're so close to contact, so close to a collision, and Drifting is going to go fully around the outside of the Haas. They're going to go wheel to wheel in the place you do not want to go wheel to wheel on this track. Can they make it work? Unbelievably, no! Drifting gets spun due to the side pod tyre tap, and Nick's losing even more time to Seb now, who's just wanting to hurry up with this, and he has to back off for now. Drifting, who decided, oh no. The race leader, Roos, has left the session, and they've been doing everything right so far as Callum's flashing in a bid to get past. And this is heartbreak for Roos, who's going to have to try and get back in as soon as possible. But this has been a very lucky gift for Callum, who's going to retake the lead now as Logan finally gets past Kua. It's been building up all race as Seb gets past Nick. Roos is back in, so they should maintain P2 and should be close enough to keep with Callum. But the sooner the better. Nick versus Seb is back in front. Overtakes galore happening in the top 7. Frosty watching this unfolding. Yeah, Drifting, who decided to hang it around the outside. I guess he thought he deserved space, but wheel to wheel through the chicane is only going to end with a collision like that. And it's ended with him down in 10th. Luigi gaining ever more time on these lot while they battle, which Sin Icon is going to have to hope and pray. No more safety cars. As Roos is back into their car, but he's got Logan and Kua right on the back as he's 1.7 behind Callum, and now they're going to have to push to gain back and take that win and P1 back. So unfortunate to disconnect like that, losing the rear, and Logan has been put in a prime position here with so much more battery with the DRS. Can they try a move down into turn 1? He's not blasting. Kua is. He was on 100%, now he's on 27. So Callum, who's on the hard compound tyres, and it is this stage where the hards are going to come into their own against the mediums. So Roos has really got to push now to try and gain. Sin Icon just in no man's land, and yeah, like I said, he's going to hope there's no more safety cars, otherwise that 3 second is going to drop him right down the order. For now, it won't lose him anything. Nick versus Seb. Frosty just outside of a second. Eggy up in 9th at the moment after being down in 12th. Drifting, he'll be gaining on Eggy, and Luigi is pushing to maybe see if he can get a point or so. Roos got the gap now down to 1.3. It was up to 1.8. That's right on the limit. Considering Roos is on 2 warnings, they have to push, but not push too much to get a penalty. Otherwise, a podium is going to... They've lost the win. They don't want to lose the podium. Right, so Callum on 1, Roos on 2. What about Logan? Right, Logan's on 1 as well. Same as Callum. Roos on 2. Logan gaining, using a bit of battery. Kua has nearly been dropped by the 2. He's outside of a second. He's not going to get DRS. Yep, seems like Logan and Kua had a bit of contact on the opening lap. Nick now gets overtaken by Seb up in a P6. So yeah, Kua on no warnings. Logan on 1, Callum on 1, Roos on 2. So besides the little bit of contact, I don't know what, maybe into turn 1 between these two, I'm sure they'll be fine about it. Yeah, he's been clean. But at the moment, yeah, Kua's been dropped by the top 3, not within a second. Roos, though, is back within a second of Callum. And Logan, the otherwise complete driver at the moment in EXFL Tier 2. Ooh, just outside of a second now. He timed, what was it, Austria right in P3 to get the switch back and overtake the 2 in front of him to get the win. And he's just being patient as Nick now gets the second penalty of the race. Sin and Nick now on 3 seconds. Seb 9 seconds behind, the only AlphaTauri remaining. We've lost 1 AlphaTauri and 1 McLaren, so it's Seb versus Logan in McLaren versus AlphaTauri with 5 to go. Callum, he's been he's been given a gift that Roos disconnected, and now they've got to pass him again. And this time, his tyres will be in a better shape towards the mediums. And this time round, they've both got less ERS. And in a track that's so difficult to overtake, Callum has to defend like a lion. And Roos has left again! And that gift has turned into a miracle for Callum, who may now be fully set on victory, as Roos is going to lose the place to Logan now, who's up into second, the championship leader. Gaining ever more ground from 4th to 2nd in the last couple laps. Roos has joined quickly, and can Kua push enough to get ahead and maximise this opportunity to get onto the podium, as Roos now not the main medium runner. Now it's up to Logan, who's won the last 2 Grand Prix. 1.7 as Kua is ahead of Roos, who's going to get back in their car, and the win that was looking so good for them is now not even a podium. Callum on 1 warning, Logan on 1 warning, Kua on nothing, on no warnings, Roos on 2. They have to push, but be careful to not get a pen. But at this rate, it might not even change anything. Unless something happens and we get a safety car now, this will be it. These battles towards the end of the Grand Prix. Callum 1.6 ahead of Logan. If Logan gets anywhere near a second, Callum is under deep pressure. But due to the wear now, 13 laps, it seems like the hards may have the slight advantage over the mediums now, because the gap is keeping constant between Logan and Kua. This race has gone up and down everywhere. You never know who was going to win it after they put on the dry tyres, and Roos has so much more pace to Kua, who's burnt all his ERS, and it seems like Roos will get back onto the podium if they don't disconnect one more time. And the faster this happens, the may be more chance they can gain up to Logan, who's gained a couple more tenths on Callum, who's using everything he can to stay ahead and keep out of the second gap he needs. Seems like Roos will get the job done, using a bit more battery on the lap. Wide exit, deep entry, but Roos loses the rear a little bit there, and now they're going to have to blast everything. Same with Kua in the slipstream and the DRS. Kua will go defensive to the inside. Kua loses the place now as Roos goes around the outside. Kua deep on the brakes to still be there, and they're wheel to wheel, now wheel to rear wheel, and now Roos is up in a third and back onto the podium. Kua couldn't do anything to defend. Roos had to use all their battery to maintain the podium as Frosty now gets ahead of Nick. Nick not really fighting it too much. He knew he was going to lose the place anyway due to the penalty. And now, if Eggy can gain a couple more tenths, he could be within a shot of P8. But Small Nick will have the DRS. Eggy has a bit more ERS to play. Drifting has nearly caught Eggy. 1.2 now. Logan versus Cal. Callum. Anyway, we got a few laps to go. Drifting now gets a penalty, and that could seal P9 for Eggy minimum. It's all happening. I think one more lap and that will be it. No more chance of a safety car, which would really add another crazy twist to this Hungarian Grand Prix. A few laps away from the official halfway stage of the season. And it's 1.3 seconds. These two who've already fought, not with each other, but for a victory in Canada due to penalties, where it saw Callum win the Canadian Grand Prix by half a second ahead of Logan. This time round, it's boiling down with 3 to go. Logan 1.4 with 38. Callum in the lead with 10%. And even if Logan gets close enough, he needs to be within 3 or 4 tenths heading around the final corner to have a go at Cal. If he really wants to make it 3 wins in a row, does the championship leader, who's going to gain a heap of points on Josh Hewitt. And it will be Kua who goes up into second in the World Championship. Actually, let's have a quick check. Where's Callum on? Oh, wait. Apologies. Oh, no, Eggy. Eggy's disconnected, and that's unfortunately dropped him behind Drifting. And if he can get back soon enough, maybe he can stick within 3 seconds. Drifting has to push to get this extra point. Logan 1.1 now. Yeah, apologies. This whole race, Callum has actually been ahead of Kua in the standings by 2 points. So Callum will enter into runner-up in the standings. He's on 101 points. Kewa's on 99. And Josh Hewitt was on 108. He'll drop to 4th. And if Seb can get P3, 5th. But at the moment, yeah, he'll drop to 4th. Kewa will go to 3rd and Callum. So, after this race, it is the top 2 in this race. Going to be the top 2 in the World Championship. Logan, who is 57 points ahead of Callum. Who's got the fastest lap? What? Where is it then? There's Frosty versus Nick. Bit of contact there, 4P7. Seems like Nick will get it, but they're still close to, and wheel to wheel. What? Okay, Roos's fastest lap has glitched, I think. And Nick stays ahead of Frosty just for now. He's all over the back of the Haas. Gets caught on the curb bit there, and the Haas stays in front. 1.1 seconds. Logan nearly within DRS. And Roos 1.1 nearly within DRS of Logan, who's now on the cusp. Now he's within. And it's got 1 and a bit laps to go, but I don't think he's close enough. Maybe a few more laps. And maybe he's pushing like crazy. Is the championship leader. Like I said, ignore fastest lap. That will be sorted later. Logan, for the first time this race, will have DRS, and it's on the last lap. He's going to have to blast everything, and he's going to have to try and push as Eggy gets a 3-sec. We're on to the last lap of the Grand Prix. Callum has done everything he needed. Roos, unfortunately, has lost the win due to disconnecting 2 or 3 times. Otherwise, it could have been P1. It's going to be the podium for now. Logan is going to have to push like crazy. Half a second now to the Haas driver, but there's no real overtaking spots left. And if they dare try to win 3 in a row, Logan's going to have to try a bold and brave move. 57 points between these two, and it could go down to 50, or it could be extended to 64. The gap between first and second. Roos gets a 3-sec, but it's good because Q is more than 3 seconds behind. He's under pressure from Sin Icon nearly. The gap between first and second in the World Championship before today was 50 points. The gap between first and second in the World Championship after today is going to be 50 points again. Logan is kept out of trouble. Callum is kept out of trouble. And he's surviving just about as Logan has piled the pressure. He's gained all the time he needed. And maybe one more lap. Maybe just one more rotation of this Hungarian Grand Prix circuit. He could have walked away with 3 wins in a row. But for the second time this season, it's going to be the Haas driver of Callum H. 1107. Sin Icon, another penalty, won't affect him. Round the final corner as Ruza spun. It's going to be Callum to win the Hungarian Grand Prix for the second time. Callum's the race winner. Logan fighted all the way to the end. Fought all the way to the end. As they go wheel to wheel, it's P2 for him. Kewa picks up the podium on the last lap because Roos messed up. And it's not even a podium for the driver who should have got the win. Eggy, the streak's going to come to an end. Roos P4, Sin Icon P5, Seb takes P6, Small Nick from the back P7. It'll be P8 though because Frosty gets 7th due to the penalty. Drifting P9, Luigi's going to get 9th. But that streak of Eggy scoring points in every race so far doesn't even finish. There we have it. That fastest lap is Glitz. So who actually got it? 18.3. 18.3, 18.3, 18.2 for Luigi. So it seems like Luigi will get fastest lap. So yeah, the gap remains 50 points between Logan to now Callum, who's second in the standings. Yep, Luigi gets the fastest lap. Unfortunately, I can't interview Callum because he's on not on Xbox, but I can interview Logan and Kua second and third. Hope you all enjoyed that race. As we are now halfway through the season officially. Halfway done, Logan has a 50-point lead like he did before today. But now it's not Logan v Josh, it's Logan versus Callum. They were teammates last season at Red Bull, but now they're rivals in separate teams for the World Championship. Right, we have second place joining the lobby. Connecting, seems like there's a bit of an issue. Right, we have third place joining the pie, and hopefully Logan can join. He was connecting last time. Here he is. There we go. Right. Morgan, have you included your audio? Logan, have you included your audio?
Yes.
Right then. P2 and P3 have joined the pie. Unfortunately, Callum can't join. He's not on Xbox. But congratulations to him, who I'm sure the back of his shirt will be sweating a bunch from. This man, Logovic09, kept it pretty neat and tidy all race. Just built and built and built, and then struck. And within a few laps, he went from fourth to third. And if maybe he had one more lap, could have been 3 wins in a row. It would have been so close and interesting to see. But Logan, P2, how do you feel?
I'm honestly, pole, good lap, a very good lap. Lost about a tenth. Probably could have snuck myself into the fours. That would have been cheeky. But pole's obviously good, considering that my quality pace hasn't been the greatest this season. And then moving on to the race, my start was horrendous, so I got caught up behind Kua for a bit. Obviously, I tried to maybe do a bit of squabbling, but it didn't really work because you can't make moves around this track, let alone in the wet. So it's quite difficult to really make a maneuver cleanly, as Luigi found out. But yeah. Overall, I'll take P2, but obviously I'm disappointed that it's not the win because 4 tenths off a win, once again, by less than a second, being denied a win from the same guy
Callum.
is
Yeah.
so. It's a tough one to take, but I mean, yeah, it's been a glorious first half of the season.
It really has indeed. Before today, you had a 50-point lead. After today, you have a 50-point lead. It was you versus Josh Hewitt, who retired due to messing up. So it's no longer you v Josh. It's Logan versus Callum, teammates at Red Bull from last season, now rivals in the World Championship. And don't discount F1 Kua, who's now third in the World Championship and third in today's race. Morgan, how did that race feel for you? Did you not want to touch your battery at any point in that race towards the end, towards most of it?
Well, I know, I don't know what was, well, the front two must have taken some sort of Class A drug, especially the Williams, because in the wets, as I said to a few of the lads I was in the party with, he could get pace. I don't know where he found it from, made it a little bit suspicious, like his whole there's a word for that. I'll figure out the word later. But him himself is just how he's got so much pace in the wets is just makes my mind go a little bit funny. But saying that with my battery, I'm trying to figure out when to use it, the best places to use it, and I knew I'd have to use the majority of it come the end of the race when it's nice and dry, and I'd use that, and then just just kept racing. In fact, as I was saying in the party, that I might just retire in just racing in general. And then thankfully he spun it, so he can't be that good if he spun it. But it is what it is. So I'm happy to take the P3 alongside Logan and Callum.
Yeah, unfortunate for Roos, who at one stage was looking like the victory was um, in reach, getting into P1. Unfortunately, they disconnected 3 or so times. I was just messaging them, so unfortunate, try again next time. And they said, oh, I don't mind. I thought it was funny to see. So it doesn't seem like they're going to be too pressed over this. But yeah, spinning at the end, gifting Morgan the podium. They got 6 seconds at the end, but were you within 6 seconds before they spun?
I honestly couldn't
Was
tell you. I was just
You were
focusing, just keeping it.
5.3.
I think it was like
5.3.
4.9. So yeah, 5.3 sounds believable. So yeah, you were going to get it anyway without the spin. So yeah, another podium, consistent points. I think top 5 in every single race you've entered so far, which is great. Which is bringing you into the fight with Callum, but you two still need to gain a lot in this second half to have a chance against Logan, who's still once again the otherwise consistent fox. But yeah, Logan, not the start you wanted. Dropped down to 4th, got ahead of Morgan for 3rd, and then due to Roos disconnecting 2nd, and then yeah, just missed out on Callum. But
Yeah.
yeah, 2nd win for Callum this season, 2 wins for Morgan, 3 for Logan, 50-point lead at the end of the first half of the season. Well done to both of you on the podium. Logan, I think you are now joint 2nd on the all-time list for most podiums with Seb on 17.
Yay. Who's got the
Josh on
most?
23.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, so still a few more to gain. But
4 podiums in a row as well.
yeah, yeah. Final question. Just take us through this first half of the season. Like, it has been a brilliant first 11 races for you.
Yeah. The only ones I've really had problems with the second and third round, but otherwise I've not been outside the top 5 since. Been
Exactly, since
quite
Baku, since that win, just been
quite a
on the
good
charge.
season. Yeah. Oh,
And yeah,
a good
Morgan,
one.
a really, really good first few races of your Tier 2 career so far. How's it been for you up to this point?
It's been alright. I always get home from work and I get excited to race every Thursday. 'Cause well, the lads are, they're all fun lads to race with. But so it's been a great opening. Whatever, six races for me. Have I
I
raced
think
so
6
far?
races now. Yeah,
6 races. So like you said, top 5 in every single one. And I always say to everyone that isn't doing the greatest, consistency is key. As long
it
as you
is.
get points, and if you can keep getting points every round, doesn't matter if it's 1, 2, 3, 4.
Hmm.
Points is points at the end of the day. That they can go a long way. So it's been a great start to my EXFL career so far, and hopefully it can just gain from here.
Really hope so, and we will see what happens in the second half because I wouldn't discount you against Callum of who's going to gain, if they can gain that mammoth amount towards Logan. But we'll see what can happen. What was I going to say? I've forgotten now. Oh well. Yeah, that has been the Hungarian Grand Prix. We will see you next time out for the Belgian Grand Prix. It is Logovico 9, victorious in the first half of the season. And maybe this time, in 11 weeks, we could be seeing a new world champion. Maybe even before then. But for now, that is Callum. Oh yeah, that was it. Logan, 6-5. You versus Callum in qualifying.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to say. You lot are making qualifying so damn exciting. How bloody close you lot were at one point. Top 5 under a 10th. I think Kira and Roos were level at one point with their times. And then, yeah, Logan right at the end by just under half a tenth ahead of, I think it was Callum for P2. Like, you lined up on the front row. So, yeah,
Yeah.
well done on pole. Well done on the P2, just avoiding damage limitation. You made your way up. Well done to Kira. And, yeah, we will see you in 7 days' time for round 12 to start off the second half of the EXFL Tier 2 Season 8 season.
Oh.